Welcome back, blade lovers. This old sword with you once again. And what do we have here but another SRM knife, aka Sanrenmu, I believe. I think they just moved to the initials abbreviation from the Sanrenmu. It's an interesting knife, and I will side comment and say that I've heard, although I'm getting information all over the place, that Sanrenmu is kind of an OEM manufacturer and may be making knives for some known um, blade makers. Blade makers meaning companies. Exactly who, I'm not sure. There was a rumor that they were doing some for Spyderco, although don't hold me to that and don't get offended if you're a Spyderco lover. That's what I have, is that there's some other brand names associated with these folks, and at the very least, they make a very nice, precise, engineered, machined knife. This one happens to be a front flipper, and it goes by the name Fantasy. And here we have a number get in focus, 1421 TP. So let's take a closer look. I got one little kind of a stain on the titanium there. Could be from some oil that I used. Had to use a little grease on this guy because I was encountering a small amount of lock stick. Don't get any now. I used something called malubaloy, and I was turned on to that by Remy Valentin, actually Rainy Valentin, of the famed custom auto knife maker fame, back in I think the 90s when I had one or two of those blades. They sent me along a little tube of malubaloy, and you can't get it in a tube anymore. Seems like you can only get it made by Castrol now. You can only get it in like larger quantities, but it is a kind of a dark grease, but it works extremely well if you get any galling or any issues when steel meets steel. So this is a frame lock titanium with a green G10 insert that's been machined with a nice little pattern, little grippy pattern there. Got some very nice effective jimping on the back. An interesting fuller, I guess you'd call it, that extends out from a opening hole. We'll call it an opening hole, but as you can see in a minute, I'm only able to middle finger flick it. But that goes all the way out to almost the end of the blade. The blade, by the way, is N690 steel. See if you pick that up. A nice steel used by Fox a lot of the time, by Bastinelli knives. I understand it hardens up to a HRC of about 58 to 60. So yes, I'm not a front flipper type of person, but there's my front flip, and almost there's my middle finger flick. I am unable to thumb open it. The slot is very close to the handle. You don't get a lot of leverage, and it's a long, skinny blade. Kind of what I'd call a spear point. Very piercy, pokey kind of thing. We're going to do our own measurements on it simply because some of the online measurements I've been getting have not been that accurate. Got a secondary lock, which locks out the liner, should you want to use that. I don't think it will go on too easily. It doesn't seem to have any loose slide to it, but it's got enough grippy jimping on it to where you can snap it on and off. I don't know of too many people that need to emergency close their knives, as long as you can get it open quickly, right? So if that does happen to lock on you. so be it. Nice titanium clip, titanium full backspacer with a lanyard slot in the end. Nice, interesting machining all the way around. Very kind of space age, Star Wars kind of looking knife. Maybe that's why they call it the Fantasy. There's your SRM branding, their logo. That might be a serial number, I'm not sure. Didn't compare it with the box. These come in just a plain kind of paper box with a little foam in it to cushion the knife. No microfiber cloth that I recall. But let's do some measurements, right? So from point to pommel, we have 8¼ inches. We have a blade length right to the handle of 3 5/8. So it's not a short knife, it's not a small knife. Let's get a blade in millimeters. It's not going to be terribly thick, 3 millimeters. Let's get a handle thickness in inches, 0.48. Pretty slim. And let's hop on over to the scale. And we get a scant 3.02 ounces. Call that a 3-ounce knife. Pretty nice for a knife that size, over 8 inches, to come in at 3 ounces. Some interesting features all the way around. It's slim, got plenty left over. Will work in the point up, point down position, no problem. Got plenty of grippiness, not so much forward and back on that G10 as up and down. Tiny bit of a guard, if you want to call it that. Hardened steel insert. Not a deep carry, and the clip is, I don't believe the clip is switchable. Yeah, it looks to me as though it's machined in. So if I were to remove it, there would be a relief in the titanium handle for the clip. So I'm going to say it is not switchable. Pretty smooth closing. And you have a really nice kind of a switch sort of shelf there on the liner release. I like the way that's made. You can't see it from this side, only here. So you can come straight across and open that pretty easily, while at the same time it doesn't seem to want to disengage if you're giving it a good grip. Then again, you can lock it out. So let's do a comparison for size against the Benchmade Griptilian. Very close, almost exact. Let's put it up against the Benchmade Boost that I'm carrying today. Boost is a bigger knife by about, ½ inch at least. And if you needed to see it against the Rat 1, why not? And the Rat 1's about is much bigger over the Fantasy as was the Benchmade Boost. I think I've covered all the points here. Is it sharp? Edge feels reasonably sharp. No paper cutting today. Not particularly aggressive. You can always tune that up. Flat grind. So there you have the SRM Fantasy. This, by the way, if you look up at White Mountain Knives, you can get this in a brown and a red insert instead of the green. So they got 3 models, and last I looked, they're all still available for about $114, less your 10% discount if you use the Old Sword discount code. Well, let me know what you think. Give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe. This Old Sword, signing out.